as I was standing in line to eat with my good friend John Holst. Where are you, John?
Right here.
Oh, there you are. Weren't you just here?
Yes.
He asked me, he said, are you going to tell us about the condition or the state of our city? And I said, yes, of course. He said, if I were you, since we're short on time, I'd just say, it's fine. And move on so we can get back to work. So it's fine. How's that?
Sounds great.
It's always a pleasure and an honor to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation from the Chamber. Appreciate it. Let's get started. So the job of today is to give you an overview of kind of what's going on in the last 12 months and maybe a sneak peek, some stuff into the future. And that's what I hope to accomplish today. Our opening slide there says celebrating our milestones, building on a prosperous future in 2025. First thing I want to accentuate, which Matt already alluded to, is downtown is maybe one of the more visible things this year that completed. And proud to say that we're open for business there. The square renovations have been almost a 4-year project. Certainly 4 years in the planning, about 3.5 in different phases. Literally millions of dollars were spent. Most of that was funded with grants on 2 different grants. One was called ITEP and one was called STU. Those are both federally pass-through grants through the state of Illinois that funded that project. And we're so happy. Maybe the best part of it is that it's done, and some of the disruption is no longer as evident. But we've got a couple of new businesses that will be coming to the square soon. Seasonings Bistro is one of the most visible ones that already has their signage up. If you have been on the square, you've seen that. Even their signage looks outstanding. If you haven't had the opportunity to peek into the window, take the opportunity to do that, because it is a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. They've done an extraordinary job there, and I know I, as well as many of you, are looking forward to them opening. My best information for those of you that are thinking of it and want to ask is that that'll happen sometime in January 25. But I do want to allow them a little bit of grace and understanding as these, as evidenced by our own project in the First Southern Bank building that City Hall was renovated. The contractor, who we so appreciate, told us it would be done in October. We failed to ask what year. And so we skipped past 1 October. And so these old buildings are a labor of passion and a labor of love for those that tackle them. And so let's give them a little bit of grace and understanding as they open. The old City Hall, from which we vacated, the old W.G. Grant building originally, and some of you, I think it was Penny's for a while. The old City Hall will become Grain and Groove. That's the folks in Elkville that own Route 51, plus a new partner, Dave Finley, who you've seen him perform on The Voice, America's Got Talent. He's partnering with them to bring a version of what they have at Route 51 Brewery to the square. They have tentatively named that, I hope I'm not disclosing something I shouldn't, as Grain and Groove. So it'll be yet another restaurant, microbrewery, and small music venue, with the downstairs being a very vibrant meeting space for folks to have meetings, obviously parties and private catering events. So we're looking forward to that coming soon as well. We believe that's going to be a great addition to our downtown vibe, if nothing else. I want to touch on Starbond and the Oasis developments real quick. Now, you've heard me talk about that. It feels like deja vu in a way, because we have passed a few 1 October with that too. I'm proud to tell you that we are rapidly, matter of fact, just got off a phone call with bond counsel and the underwriters immediately before this meeting, and we are rapidly moving to a point in Q1 2025, hopefully February, where we will issue the first set of bonds that will fund that project. I see a lot of Oasis folks sitting to this table. I think I speak for them, and Rodney and Shad and his team. I thought I saw Shad. There you are. I know they're raring to go. So construction, once we issue those bonds, will be starting in earnest immediately. And we're all looking forward to that. Again, that's the renovation of the former Illinois Center Mall. as well as the construction of the Oasis Fieldhouse, which is again a Top Golf-like facility plus pickleball, and an attached hotel to that development, with hopefully many more to come. So this is really just phase one of what we think will be a multi-year bond issuance and development. We think we'll issue bonds somewhere in the neighborhood. Again, this is still tentative. The numbers are still being finalized. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million, with about $150 million being invested in that first phase. Will definitely be a boost to our economy and the short-term economy, construction economy, with all those jobs, and we're greatly looking forward to that. The sports complex, which you probably dodged on your way in here, is nearing, I want to say nearing completion. I guess that's probably not exactly right, but it's made rapid progress. It is expected to be complete in the spring of 2025. I think that year, which they will not get a full year of play on all of the fields, and will still be awaiting the dome to be constructed next year. We'll be all in preparation in a practice run with local sports teams and tournaments before a full slate of tournaments to be scheduled for 2026. And again, that feasibility study for that multi-use field development is expected to bring 80,000 new hotel room night stays once complete. It's 250,000 people per year that will be visiting your businesses, our hotels, our restaurants, and visiting our town. We're greatly looking forward to that. I want to give you an update briefly on several of the facilities. When we talk about City of Marion, you know, it's not just one offering, and the city is so blessed. In aggregate, I call these things the crown jewels of the city. And many of you use some of them. A lot of you don't use any of them. I encourage that to change, even if it's to be going by there and seeing what offerings we have for our community, because I believe our community is quite unique, especially for one of our size, that offers facilities of this caliber, and more importantly, of the services that are provided within those facilities for our residents. To that end, I'll start with Club 60. That's a rebranding name for Marion Senior Citizen Center. As I get closer and closer to 60, it makes a whole lot more sense not to call it a Senior Citizen Center. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Keith, where's Keith?
Thank you very much.
Right? I am very proud, particularly of the Senior Citizen Center. I go there several times a year to eat and participate in their activities, and I've got to tell you, it is super important to the folks that attend there. It's part not just of a way for them to get a nutritious meal, but that is their social circle. It is where they stay alive in more than one way. And we're proud of that. We're proud of the leadership there and of the different events that go on there. Also, John was just telling me Kiwanis is all geared up and ready for pancakes in pajamas, that they're going to be the pancake makers. Nobody else makes pancakes like the Kiwanis in town. So we're proud to have them as part of that. Marion Carnegie Library, another very overlooked facility in Marion. Hence the name. It's an old facility. It was funded originally by Andrew Carnegie, as many of them were in the United States. But I'm so proud that we have kept up that facility as a state-of-the-art facility. Not just to house books, which is what most people think of a library, but it's so much more than that, and so much more than that to the people that visit there and use those services. If you haven't been in that beautiful building and seen all the resources that are available, electronic to check out, not just hardbound books like you might think, you should do so. This is the 20th anniversary of the reconstruction after the fire of the Marion Cultural and Civic Center, another facility we are extraordinarily proud of, and consider to be an economic engine, specifically to downtown for Marion. If you have noticed or paid much attention in the last couple of years, you've noticed bigger and bigger shows coming to the Civic Center of higher and higher caliber. That's a very purposeful effort on Josh Benson's part, funded by the City Council. It takes a lot of money to fund upfront those shows and to get them here, and a lot of logistical support in order to accommodate artists of the caliber that we're now bringing here. But it's a very important part of downtown and part of our ecosystem down there. But not just downtown. Remember those folks stay in our hotels. I don't recall the exact specific number, but I think we sold tickets for the different shows in the Civic Center to 1,100 different zip codes last year. Think about that for a second. It gives you a scale, an idea of the draw that the Civic Center is for our town. The Hub Recreation Center is about to celebrate their 10th anniversary in February. That's another facility in town. Not everybody uses it. Those that do, to many, it's a daily event, also a social necessity for them. Doesn't just keep their body healthy, but maybe their mind and soul. We've hired a new marketing director in 2024 there, and our membership continues to grow, and we're proud of that facility. Market Street Hall is the old First Christian Church building that's on North Market, just 2 blocks north of the clock. That's a city-owned facility. It's best described as an annex to the Civic Center. It's intended to be a smaller, more intimate venue for folks to use where maybe the Civic Center was too expensive to rent or just a little bit more intimidating. I've said this many times before, but if you're a performer and you're on stage, like think dance recital, piano recital, or something like that, and there's only 50 people out there to watch you in an 1,100 seat theater, it can be actually demotivating, a little bit intimidating. This is a much better venue at what we call Market Street Hall now for that kind of event. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. I'm so proud of the work that we've put into it that is going to make that 100-year-old building sustainable, I hope, for the next 100 years. Now, inside of that facility is a 501c3 that's using part of it, called Market Street Hall, or Market Street Music Conservatory. That's an independently funded and operated organization, but they have grown leaps and bounds. And it's just amazing to see what this group of passionate people have done. If you could have imagined the worst side eye when I called the person, April, that runs it in the middle of a pandemic and said, we've got this idea to start this conservatory and we want you to market yourselves and further the arts through education of the arts and participation in the arts in Marion. To somebody that never started a conservatory, knew what it was, and certainly an expert in music, but in the midst of a pandemic, that was a hard ask, and so I'm so appreciative that here we are 4 years later. They now have 280 students that study music and the arts in that facility and are able to use it. We're so proud of that. The pavilion where we stand today continues to run, of course, its own full schedule of events. It's a very unique facility in of its own. Everything we've seen in the last year, from the Clydesdales to chamber events like this one, weddings, vendor fairs, fundraisers, and the pavilion is such a great asset to our city. And speaking of the pavilion, is Jared Garrison in the room today? I haven't seen him.
Today's his birthday.
I know, that's what I was going to say. If you do see Jared, or you know his text number, wish him a happy birthday. He does a great job out here. Now, I held off a little bit on Boynton Street Community Center in my previous list. I did because I want to highlight something special about Boynton Street. So that is I think that facility was built in 1987 or 88, improved a little bit with an addition somewhat years later, but the city is proud to be expanding that facility. The picture you see on the screen on the right of that is a multi-use gym that will be able to house many more people inside of that building for their activities, fundraising, dinners. Yes, it's got a basketball court, and I think it might even be lined for pickleball. So we'll see how we can integrate that into the offering. In addition to that, we've worked hard to secure funding for a tech and computer lab, other learning resources, all for the intention and the benefit for everybody to access that facility, whether it's just for job fairs, job application, getting access to the internet, and I think we're nearing completion on that project, and we're looking forward to putting all that into place. As far as what's new downtown, I want to touch on a few things. We do have, at the top right of this picture, we've installed 2 electronic kiosks, which we're able to deploy, one at City Hall and one on the center circle. It allows us to communicate many types of things that I'm communicating to you today, but much more on a real-time, multimedia basis. So we've tried to put those kiosks where the people are. They've all got QR codes, which if people want more information, they can snap a quick picture of that, takes them to the event that we're talking about. And those have been a great addition, all grant funded incidentally, to downtown. Also grant funded is we have installed in many of our city parking lots downtown solar lit bollards that say free parking. And that's important. You may have heard me say maybe at last year's event, one of our huge challenges downtown, especially for all the events that we've got going on, and the growth that we've had there, experiencing not just the Civic Center, but the new businesses coming in, is we've got to change people's perceptions about parking. There's only about 56 parking places on the square proper. Several of those are handicapped spaces, so they're not available to everyone. And of course, many of those are occupied throughout the day through just the normal course of business. What a lot of people need reminded of is that we've got 710 or so free parking places within 2 blocks of that tower clock. Now, to give you a scale of what that's like, that's the equivalent, when I say 2 blocks, that radius, that's the same distance from the back of Walmart's parking lot to the front door of Walmart. We have as much parking as Walmart does downtown. How's that for a change of perception? We've done a terrible job of marketing it, and that's what those bollards are about. You might notice most of the facilities, if not all, have new LED message boards that also allow them to highlight the events that they've got coming up too. Rides Mass Transit and their fixed route bus service. I think I said last year, this is one of, personally, my favorite projects that we've worked on. That has mass transportation available about 12 hours a day on fixed route bus service, all for $1 per ride. And it can take you from anywhere from downtown all the way out to the hospital and everywhere in between. So we've added new routes there, Rides Mass Transit has added new routes there, and we are in the process of adding more and more bus shelters as we get permission to do so and the funds to buy and place those shelters. Businesses has really stepped up as we've made the place downtown for them to have events. They've supported projects and hosted many events this year: Glacier Fest, Truck Showdown Cruise In, some holiday open houses, and many more. And we're so grateful and proud of each of them on their own, of placing those logistics into motion and using our public spaces. I want to talk about infrastructure improvements. This is the part that is the unsexy part of government. But I assure you, if we did not do these things, you would notice eventually. And boy, when things go bad in this world, do you notice? We are spending very purposely measured millions of dollars relining our sewer system in Marion. This is going to extend the practical life of our sewer system by about 80 years. That's really good news, because the alternative to that is digging up your streets and making one heck of a mess, which nobody likes. The other alternative to that, is those things indicate, is it's terribly expensive to dig up streets and to replace sewer pipe. So Brent Kane, I want to give him a little bit of a shout out, who is our superintendent over that department, who just does a tremendous job living within his debt service budget and making sure that we're investing in that kind of priority moving forward. So again, this is something you literally do not see. I hope you don't smell it, and but you should be proud of it, because it's a lot of towns let this slide, so to speak, and they don't invest in these things until it's too late, and then it's even more and more disruptive and more expensive. We've secured a Safe Routes to Schools grant. We go after those every year. We don't win them every year, but this is going to provide about a half mile worth of sidewalk from Lincoln School all the way to Route 13, where Alder State Methodist Church is. And that's been a problem because there's lots of traffic, lots of residents in that area without a safe sidewalk. And so we believe that's going to provide safe passage to many, many students over the years. Sidewalk repairs and replacements continue. Again, maybe you don't appreciate those things, but this is one of the things. Cody can tell you that I beat my head against my desk when he hears me next door and hears that thumping sound. It's usually over this issue, because this is a huge one. We've got approximately 40 miles of sidewalk that need to be replaced. It costs us about $30 a foot to replace them. You can do the math later when you've got a calculator. make me sick at my stomach if I say it. We do about a half mile at current pace each year. We've got 5 people that just exclusively work on sidewalks. Now, to those of you that have become accustomed to that and seen that, I want to just point out real quickly, that is very unusual in cities. Most cities do not do that. Matter of fact, Google it. That's another assignment after the meeting. You can Google it and see, just search, how do I get my sidewalk replaced? And you'll see Google return a whole bunch of stuff. And in most cases, you'll see some towns that'll offer a 50-50. You pay for the labor or you pay for the concrete, and they'll come in on a wait list and do the work. I'm committed to figuring out a way to replace 40 miles of sidewalks. So we're going to continue to figure it out, work on it, and but it is a challenge. Westminster Bridge got completed, another thing that was a lot of disruption, but we're super proud of how that turned out. Particularly proud of IDOT's choice with our input of a patriotic theme. If you have not seen that, particularly at night, you should make a trip just for that purpose. It is a beautiful tribute to the veterans in our town and the Veterans Administration, which is nearby, and we are super proud of that. We also got a Right Tree, Right Place grant from Ameren. I don't know if anybody from Ameren is here, but we certainly appreciate that. And I want to, this is going to come by surprise. I saw Jeff. Where's Jeff? Mayor. There he is. Okay. Surprise. Yeah. As of yesterday, Jeff has, so this has been a surprise for me. Jeff is a competitor of mine in the car business, and I've known him forever and ever, and a very respected competitor, by the way. But despite that, I had no idea until I got into office, or maybe shortly before I got into office, what his passion for this town was, particularly downtown. And you've seen evidence of that with his personal investment in the redevelopment and reinvigoration of the Goodall building downtown. But he's a great idea person and a person of action, and when you combine those two things, it's a lethal combination. So as of yesterday, Jeff presented us with a plan, which we plan on absolutely all in, to combine that Ameren grant with some other city TIF funds. And I think the initial phase is where we've got to get some permission from some people. But he's done a lot of legwork yet to do, but we're going to be planting about 60 trees across the city. And you know, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is tomorrow. I want to talk real briefly about the financial state of the city, maybe not so briefly. I'm going to mark myself on time here. I'm running out. This graph represents basically a representation of our economy as measured by municipal sales tax, which equates to sales, retail sales in the city. You heard me say last year, that was the second or third year we had surpassed $1 billion, that's a B, $1 billion mark. And I think by this time next year, all indications, I think I'll be telling you that we have surpassed the $1.2 billion mark. Now, I want to give you guys a scale of this, because it sounds impressive, and the graph looks impressive, but it's not compared to anything else. So let me do that for you. There's about 1,300 municipalities, 1,294 if you want to be exact, in the state of Illinois. Many more than that are villages that also report sales tax. But let's just talk about the cities, incorporated cities, 1,300 of them. Marion ranks 43rd in the entire state. The 42 that are above us in that ranking are all north of here by leaps and bounds. Most of them, the vast majority, are in the Chicagoland area. Champaign beats us. I think Peoria, obviously, that's a much bigger town. More impactfully, if you look at this based on population, you call this per capita spending. Marion ranks in the top 0.5% of cities in the state of Illinois. So that's the scale of what you all and your businesses are doing for our town, and we appreciate it. In terms of city government and its finances, it's hard in that world, especially coming from a business world, to boil it all down to one easy to understand graph. But that's what this is. This line, don't confuse this line with the federal debt or the state of Illinois debt. Matter of fact, it's not debt at all. In the city world, what we call reserves is simply the net result of deficit spending or surplus budgets. So as you can see, as you move right over time, particularly since 2020, we are living well within our means and putting money back for our future. And that's what this graph represents. I want to touch base real quick on one of the new, it's not new necessarily to this past year, but just an update on something that's new with this, the Contour Air route from Chicago O'Hare to here. Now, in a broader sense, Contour and their results are about 40% more passenger traffic as a whole than what Cape Air was able to service. Now, selfishly, when all those talks were going on, I have to tell you, I was more interested in how many people were coming here than were going to O'Hare. It was not my goal to ship people out, but to ship people in. And this graph shows you what I've been focused on was the traffic coming in to Southern Illinois. And as you can see, if we had a trend line on there, it's been great, and much more traffic than before, and more importantly, people coming here than before. So they've had significant growth. They've got new fixed operations in place, including a new gate. If you flew that flight originally, you know they had to bust you off the tarmac it took sometimes more time to get off the tarmac than it did to get from Marion to Chicago. That is no longer the case. They have a bona fide gate there, and it's fantastic. One of the things that the thing I'm most proud of in the last 5 years is the success of what we call our residential TIF programs. We're not the only municipality that has deployed residential-based tax increment financing districts, but we're probably the one that's done it with the most gusto. When I ran for office, I said, it's fine to have all the shiny stuff out by the interstate. It's all shiny and new, and we look great from out there, but we can't leave our old neighborhoods behind. And I'm proud that we're not. It's hard work. It'll take many years, and there are many years more of this to come. This map, and you can see this on the city website, you can even click on these points of interest and see how much each of these grants were and what their project was. But these, generally speaking, each dot on this map represents a $5,000 to $10,000 investment in a residential property based on, in essence, tax rebates back to the taxpayers from the success of the residential TIF program. To date, we believe there's been, I think this is only over 2 years, about $1.5 million, home by home, invested into some of our older neighborhoods, and I could not be more proud. Next, I want to talk real quickly about the efforts that are going on for community building. Marion Connects, which you probably are all familiar with, and they host Third Thursdays and other events around town, was a finalist this year for the Governor's Hometown Award. We are super proud of them and so appreciative of the effort that they bring to a vibrant downtown. Marion Stands with Veterans is our new name for kind of an add-on weekend event surrounding the Veterans Parade, which we've been blessed to have for the last 20 years. And this year, as part of that, was an event that was called Freedom Sings, which brought in singer-songwriters all from the Nashville, Tennessee area to work with vets, our own local vets, to turn their stories into a personal song. I'm hopeful that we'll do that this next year. If you didn't experience that, you really missed something, because it was profound. And I invite you back this next September to witness that firsthand. Our sister city relationship with Kaneetown, Japan, is still going well. We hosted them here in August, and looking forward to our delegation going back in October. Very Merry Marion is underway right now, and with carriage rides and pancake for pajamas and all kinds of other events. Our market, our Christmas market, is going to start this Friday through Sunday. That's been held at Market Street Hall while we did construction on the square. This year it will be on the square proper. And this will give us our first foray into closing some of the quadrants with the bollards, because we have 50 vendors this year that will be up there. We encourage you to participate in that and come maybe do some Christmas shopping. Pony League partnership is going well at Mountain Dew Park and other venues. It brings that 8U tournament to Marion with over 30 teams from all over the world. That's a great success. And recently we also were notified we got the Spark Good grant from Walmart to help fund Shop with a Cop, which is also a great success and point of pride. Now I need to conclude because we're running short of time. I'm running short of time. So it is my purpose and my duty to report to you that the state of your city is strong. But it's more important that I tell you why. It's strong because our civic pride is strong and growing. I already mentioned our Marion Connects. I'll have the opportunity next month at the Chamber dinner to award them with the Mayor's Service Award as evidence of our appreciation as a town for all they're doing. But there are many others, and there's too many to mention, but a few come to mind that I don't want to leave out, that contribute to the fabric of our community in a most profound and important way. And that's organizations like the Ministerial Alliance, the Salvation Army, Southern Illinois Coalition for the Homeless, the Promise Mission, and several churches that feed people, house people, help people on a daily basis. And we respect and appreciate that so much as a city. It's also strong because our city finances are strong. And that stewardship of those resources by your elected city council position us in a place that we can actually support the growth that you're seeing. That we're not over our skis, so to speak. That we're able to keep up with the pace of all this. This is due to very strong and conservative stewardship by our city council. And it's strong because of our city staff. Whether we're talking about a department superintendent, or we're talking about a fireman or a policeman, or somebody that works at the library or here at the pavilion, or even an usher at the Civic Center, or at Boynton Street, or the laborer that cleans your ditch and paves your street. They work so hard every day. I didn't realize it when I was first elected. We all have certain preconceptions of government and the jobs that are within government. But I've got to tell you, I'm proud to say these folks are invested beyond my wildest hopes or expectations. It's their town too. And when you see them out there, some of these jobs are hard. Some of them are dangerous. And they're all needed. And we should all respect that. I know I do. I also want to give a special shout out to my staff. Very specifically, there's 5 people that report to me in City Hall on a daily basis. It's Cody Moak, my Chief of Staff, Glenn Clare, our Economic Director, Wendy Cunningham, our City Attorney, Jennifer Olson, our Business Development Director, and Rachel Stroud, our Communications Director. This might be, matter of fact, I'm convinced it is, the smartest, most well-intended, most capable group of people I've ever had the opportunity to work with as a team. And folks, I've employed thousands over the course of my career. It is an honor to be a part of that team. And lastly, as I conclude, since I think John mentioned this is a time of year for Thanksgiving. And I want to tell you that's something I think I've been a little bit remiss in saying in past addresses. I will forever be grateful for this opportunity to be mayor of such a thriving place. I get asked nearly every day, usually tongue-in-cheek, why in the hell I wanted this job. The truth is, I needed it. I needed it more than you needed me. Even after I had 5 years in office, even on the cloudiest of days, I thank God each morning that you allowed me to do this job. Merry Christmas to all of you and your families. I'm thankful that Marion is becoming the oasis of opportunity and that Marion is the place to be. May God bless you, our great nation, and may God continue to bless the city of Marion, Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Absher, for the update on the city and really for your passion about our city.